Julie Claire.
Can we please stand for the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a few announcements. The next regular meetings are scheduled for March 10th and the 24th. The public hearing on the FY 2021 school budget is scheduled for March 24th. There is no school February 17th to the 21st due to winter break, and there is also no school on Tuesday, March 3rd, due to voting and teacher professional development. And we have half days on Thursday and Friday, March 19th and 20th, due to parent-teacher conferences. And there is a change in our calendar. There will be a half day of school on Tuesday, March 31st, due to another election, a special election, and teacher professional development. Because of this special election, there will be a regular day of school on Monday, April 6th, though we switched the 31st and the 6th. Thank you.
So do we have correspondence?
Yes, we do. So we received an email from Cindy Mojica, and I will read it here. The Equity Committee Liaison and students working with the Center for Diversity Inclusion belonging at the Easthampton High School, along with many other community volunteers and parents, are preparing a mobile Black History Museum installation that is a thoughtful and tasteful overview of over 400 plus years of Black history. The museum will include facts on slavery, the civil rights movement, how Black people were portrayed in Hollywood and the media, and the events of current times. It is important to us in the school that you attend this museum prior to its opening, since you will probably receive emails and phone calls possibly on how students and parents feel about the museum installation in the high school. Returning to Black History Month, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to learn about the struggles and difficulties that Black people have faced throughout the years and the many achievements that they have not been appreciated and recognized for.
So if I may, I've actually been working very closely with Asher Hamilton on this project for the last couple of weeks, and for her it's been way beyond that. The museum is actually opening tomorrow, and it's actually really exciting. So we will be having some open community events for not only the school committee but members of our community and actually members of other communities. We've had a lot of interest from people at other schools that want to come in. I know the 8th grade class at the JFK school in Northampton is going to come in. So we're trying to make plans on when and how we're going to coordinate all of that. But so we're looking at 2/26 as a possible date for a community event. That's the night of our next equity steering meeting. And also possibly on March 18th, which would be the next equity committee meeting, and also the last day of the museum being open. One of the things that stuck out in Cindy's email was every student at Easthampton High is actually going to be going through this. The administration decided that they would take one class, B block, and have every class go through the museum. There is going to be probably a 15-minute before they go in, explaining what the museum is all about.
Bless you. Thank you.
And there's going to be about 30 to 40 minutes in the museum, and then after there's going to be probably about a 30-minute discussion. So it's going to take up a full period. And so there's, I think, 23 classes that are going to be going through the museum, and as well as teachers and staff, et cetera, at the high school. So it's really exciting. And I'm so happy to have the support of the administration on this one.
So I have a quick question. The 26th, is that a Thursday?
It's actually a Wednesday night.
It's Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's
Equity
better for
Committee
me.
meets on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
And the
will there-
Equity Committees, if I could just remind people, the K through 8, the pre-K through 8 meets in the afternoon, and then the 9 through 12 Equity Committee meets in the evening, the same location at the high school. And those are open to the public. I mean, if any parents want to volunteer.
So I have two other
We'll definitely
questions.
send something out, you know, to open that up to everybody.
Okay, so you don't know a time that,
It hasn't been set yet, but it was something that we talked about today. So it was brought up that we would do it. Our meeting is 5:30 to 7:15, so that I know for sure would be an open time on those two dates that I gave. I'm not sure about the afternoon session.
okay. So my last question is, what if someone can't make the February 26th and the March 18th? Is there a time in the afternoon? Is there any other time that the
I'm sure that you
community
could
can come
contact Asher, and if she's
Okay.
there, she would be more than happy to walk anybody
Okay.
through.
They
I'm
have,
just wondering, you know,
They have docents from UMass, so they really, I don't think it's easy for them to do if someone just walks in.
right.
Because the
Asher's
docents
actually going to
have-
be the
yeah.
docent. We have
So I think if there are people, if she knows ahead of time.
The students are actually being the facilitator. They're actually acting as a facilitator. So they're going to be the ones talking to them before and after. There's a group of questions. There's actually like an agenda and things like that that they're going to be going through with each class.
But as of right now, February 26th and March 18th, if community members couldn't make those times, then they could contact Asher and see if
They'll
there's another
contact her.
time. Okay, that's good to know. I think it's exciting. I can't wait to see it.
There are many, many hours
Yeah.
in that museum.
Do we have gifts?
Yes, we would like to please vote to accept with gratitude and appreciation the following gifts. From Melissa and Evan Zemer, monetary donation to Maple School for students to participate in educational field trips. So thank you very much to Melissa and Evan, and I would make a motion to accept that gift.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Now we have public speak. Is there anybody who would like to come up and say anything? Going once. All right. And now we have a presentation.
We do. I'm going to go up to the podium. So I'll first describe what this award is this evening, and then I'll ask the young lady who's the recipient of the award to come up. Every year, the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents contacts the superintendents across the state to let us know that we are allowed to give one award in our district for a student, a senior, that has high academic achievement but goes beyond that. It goes beyond just having the good grades, does more. So this year, I reached out to the administration at the high school, and you know, there are so many wonderful students to choose from at Easthampton High School, but the administration really pushed for Emily Conley. They had some wonderful things to say about Emily. So Emily, would you join me up here? So there's a little bit of criteria for this award. We're supposed to select someone that has high academic achievement, that is in the top of their class, but does something that goes beyond the school day or year. So what I know about Emily is that she's in the top 5% of her class. Am I right? Yeah. Are you the top one in your class right now? I thought so. But I didn't want to make that assumption because I know that can be a moving target. She's a member of NHS. She is a member of We the People, the team that just won in January and will be setting off in April to Washington. So that's an exciting group in and of itself. And I understand that you're also part of a mural project with the Easthampton Arts Council.
Yeah.
So it's all amazing things that I don't know how you find the time to do all of those things. But in honor of you this evening, I have a certificate for you, and I'm going to read it to everyone. It's a certificate of academic excellence for Emily Conley. Having duly qualified under the standards prescribed by the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, is hereby awarded the Certificate of Academic Excellence. In witness thereof, the seal of the association and the signature of the superintendent of schools are hereunto affixed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like to get a picture with the whole committee? Can we have the whole committee come up? Let's get a picture. Maybe we could stand in front here.
Do you want to stand here?
Yeah, I think that's great.
It's got to be from feet up because I got.
Somebody go on the other side.
That's true.
That's
Thank you.
Good job. Should we turn sideways or?
Wait,
Can you get us all?
Yep, Cindy should be on the other side, no offense.
Oh, yes, that's a good idea.
There you go.
It's not personal, man.
Not taken.
Okay, I have everybody. So proud of you, Emma. I'm gushing.
We're all gushing.
Congratulations.
Very good job.
Thank you all for coming. What a support system.
Thank you.
So nice. Well deserved. It's nice when we get to do something fun like that. Yeah.
There you go.
And you know, when we have a parent back there with an elementary school student, it's nice for them to see what comes up at the high school.
So who are these relations? I'm always so curious. You're the mom.
I'm her mom.
Yeah.
This is my grandma. This is her dad's mom. Nana.
Wonderful.
And this is Nachi.
Well, congratulations to all of you. It's always a family endeavor, so.
And I'm
thanks
sure I
for
didn't
coming.
even get all the things that you do. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure there are many. And I'm sure we'll see you again with the We the People group, because we usually have the group come.
Great.
All right, well, good luck. Thank you.
Bye.
That's a good feeling. Okay, on to subcommittee updates. How about finance subcommittee?
So we did have our first meeting to start to review the budget and started looking over the elementary school budgets. And just starting in looking at enrollment that's going to be staying basically level as it has the last 2 years, and will so continue to be really strong in our school district. So no other updates at this point, but we'll be getting into it more and more over the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you. So on to policy.
Okay, is everybody ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right. I would like to make a motion to add policy number IN, dissection, to the manual.
I second that.
All those in favor?
All right, I'd like to make a motion to update JFABD, homeless students, in the manual.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to update JB, equal education opportunities.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to add JBB, educational equity.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to add JI, student rights and responsibilities.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to update JII, student complaints and grievances.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete JFC, student conduct.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to add GBEBC, gifts to and solicitations by staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete GBI, staff gifts and solicitation.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete GBG, staff participation in political activities.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to add GBI, staff participation in political activities.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to update GA, personal policies and goals.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete JEB-R.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete 5112A.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete JFA-R-1.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete JFHR-1.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete JFH-R-2.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete JHD-R.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to delete JHCCA-E.
Second.
All those in favor?
Last one. I'd like to make a motion to delete 5141.4, all sections.
Second.
All those in favor? And that was not even our longest list yet, so not bad.
Well, it was mine, because this is the first time I've done it.
Yeah, I think Melissa had one that was a little longer when you were not here.
We do have a proposed meeting scheduled, I believe, on March 3rd. I just hadn't heard from you.
Excellent.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Okay, March 3rd it is, at 5 o'clock here.
All right, and now, under other, Maren?
Yeah, so I just wanted to give a short update that the Climate Action Group is going to be meeting this Thursday at 5:15. It's at Whitebrook Middle School, and so it's going to be involving any parents who want to be involved. It's going to be involving any students at any level that want to be involved. A number of the students from the WE group at Whitebrook are a part of it already, but we definitely would like to encourage others to come out, and as parents as well. So there'll be we're going to be, over the next 5 sessions, going to be looking at each sort of primary sector of where it affects the climate: transportation, buildings, energy, food and waste, and just other environmental factors. So each of those, we're going to be meeting every 3 weeks, every 3 weeks we'll be meeting, and then rolling that towards sort of a discussion and looking at ways it may come into the school's curriculum towards the end of May. So if people want to get involved, people want to sort of look at both, first a little bit of learning, since we all have to get to learn a bit more about these different factors and different sectors, and then also a conversation about what kind of action we can take or is already being taken within our community. So the Climate Action Group here in Easthampton is going to be posting information up on their Facebook as well. So please get involved, please come, or at least please look there on Facebook to learn more about it.
You guys did put up a page?
Yeah, they already have a page.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Easthampton Climate Action.
Thank you. Anything else before we move on?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I just may give a brief report on my last trip out to see the folks at the Collaborative.
Awesome.
I was going to boil it down to 2 things that I think are probably the most important of what I got out of it. So we had sort of our annual presentation from the folks at Spiffy, which you'll recall is the group that does annual surveying of students around mental health, substance abuse, that sort of thing. And it's always really interesting to hear what they've determined. So some highlights, if you can call them that. So they had almost 3,000 surveys this past year. That was across Hampshire County. They found that use of cigarettes and prescription drugs are down after a brief increase. Alcohol has been seeing a steady decrease over the years. We have seen a spike in marijuana use among high school students. It seems to have lined up with legalization, but they don't really have enough data to see the long-term effects of that. I imagine we'll have that over the next couple of years. But the big things are e-cigarette use and vaping are constantly on the rise. The one bit of good news I can share is, as about 5 or 10 years ago, their data showed that we had a high of about 10% of high school students reporting having used opioids of some sort, and in this past round of surveys, it's back down to 1%, which I feel like it's something good and shows, the results, I think, of some hard work that they've done around that particular topic. They do also have questions in their surveys around mental health, which I find very concerning. So a couple of things from that. As far as students self-reporting that they suffer from depression, we have since 2007 to this year, 2019, males have increased from 20 to 31% reporting. Females have increased from 33 to 52% reporting, and they just started including results, or let me rephrase that. They just started allowing students to report as trans or non-binary, and they only have results specific to that demographic since 2013. But we have seen that group reported 48% in 2013, is now up to 69% report experiencing some form of depression. Nationally, this increase really kind of took hold in 2015, although Hampshire County is really 2017 where it seemed to spike for us. Another big one, I didn't even write down in my notes what it was for males and females. They were also too high, in my opinion, for students reporting suicidality and self-harm. So thinking about suicide versus harms without the intention of killing oneself. So trans and non-binary students reported 45% of having had suicidal thoughts, 40.5% of having done some form of self-harm. So those are just really high numbers, and I think speaks to some serious struggles that our students are going through. Obviously here in Easthampton, we're taking strides to address social emotional health, but we have quite the uphill battle. So, sorry for that downer, but I thought it was important to share. One other interesting thing that I'll just, I guess, throw out at the end here, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of correlation between depression and screen time until students reported 5 or more hours of screen time a day, which almost always pointed to a higher level of depression in those students. And then none of this is even to say anything about the e-cigarettes and vaping, which is something that is high on their list of priorities to address. The good news there is flavored tobacco products have already been banned, and as of June 1st of this year, menthol products are finally going to be off of the market, which is going to be, I think, really important. And I guess I'll point out that Joe Comerford, Senator in Northampton, is working on a new survey with the collaborative to look at some of the effects of the new laws that have been put in place around vaping and those products.
Did you have figures for non-trans students for
suicidality and self-harm?
self-harm?
They were not as high as the figures I gave you. I didn't make note of them at the meeting, just because, I mean, they were, I can tell you they were higher than they should have been, but they weren't as high as these numbers.
I recently read 1 in 6 nationwide.
Yeah.
Wow.
That could be about right,
Yes.
yeah. I think that that's probably right in line with what they found. So the one other thing I just want to share is, since at the beginning of the year, they're talking about 2020 legislative priorities. The collaborative does a lot of work reaching out to lawmakers and elected officials across the state, and it's a big part of what they do. So I just wanted to share their priorities in case there's anywhere you thought you wanted to support that, or if you had other ideas. They're always looking to hear them. I'd be happy to forward them along as well. But some of the things that they've pulled out this year are, go figure, mental and behavioral and addiction health supports for students. We can see why. Same thing for vaping education funding. One thing they did provide to us at the meeting was a sample of some curricula that they've developed specifically around vaping and tobacco, so lesson plans that could be used. I can share that if somebody wants. There's breakfast after the bell bill that they're pushing to support. There's a special education gap bill that's been proposed by Joe Comerford and Rep. Dan Carey that they're pushing for support. They're supporting programs to build what they say to build a robust pipeline for developing a diverse teacher workforce. So a lot of times we'll see folks of color in support roles or paraprofessional roles, and I know the collaborative has been making strides to help them take the steps to become full classroom teachers. And the last two big ones are after-school programs, which are obviously such a strength of our particular collaborative, including here in Easthampton. And then they're pushing to expand funding for STEM career education, especially paid student internships. So those are some of the things the collaborative is going to be pushing for this year. Again, if you have suggestions aside from that, I'd be happy to hear them and share them. Otherwise, just keep in mind the collaborative is out there doing great things and providing a lot of support for us. So I won't take any more of your time.
Thank you. I wish some of those statistics were a lot smaller.
Indeed.
It's important information, so thank you. All right. Okay, superintendent updates.
So this evening, we have Sarah Mochak, our special education director, here to give us a presentation on what goes on in her office, because we don't really know. No. Sarah is an integral part of our team, and I will say, Jonathan, you just mentioned a bill that Joe Comerford and Dan Carey are supporting around the GAP.
The GAP bill they're proposing.
The GAP bill they're proposing. And they've asked Sarah to join a discussion that they're having, a panel that they're having, to talk to school districts. Sarah's one of the more veteran special ed directors in the area. So they sought her out and invited her, and she's going to be going to an event, speaking with them, because we do have a gap in our district around our special ed support, according to what the state average is and what our average is in Easthampton. So Sarah's going to tell you a little bit tonight about the programming. Before I turn it over to her, though, I want to just remind everyone, this is aligned to our district improvement plan, strategic focus area number 1, which is, again, my goals and Sarah's goals, which is meeting the needs of all learners. So Sarah's going to talk to you a little bit about how we do that through our special education department. So Sarah, welcome and thank you.
Thanks for inviting me tonight, Dr. LeClaire. Hi, everybody. Thank you. So I developed a PowerPoint for all of you. I'm not going to go through every slide. Some of them are jam-packed with information, and I know that that's not the way to do it, but I felt like I wanted you to have the information that was here. So it's just a short presentation of what goes on in my department, in my office, sort of day-to-day around special education, and then all of the other responsibilities that fall within my purview. So in addition to special education services for students preschool through grade 12 plus, there's a certain number of students we support until they're 22 years old. There are about 350 students or so. I'm also the district coordinator for Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. There are about 150 students in the district with Section 504 plans. I'm also the district liaison for homeless students and students in foster care. I go a little bit in depth later on about what each of these things are. District nursing, this is new this year, that I oversee our district nurse and the LPNs at each school. I'm the Title IX compliance officer. I'm the civil rights compliance officer, and then particularly this year, Dr. LeClaire has asked me to take a role in supporting Center Pepin in response to their turnaround plan. So I've been supporting former Principal Pete and now Principal Pasquini. So here are the numbers of, this was from Saturday, because I developed this presentation Saturday. So this changes every day, but this is a look at where we're at now. So in Maple, there's 203 students total without preschool. 49 of them receive special education services, that's 24%. The state average for a long time held steady around 16, maybe 17, and the radar data, so radar is a tool that the state gives us that looks at district allocation of resources, and we can compare ourselves to other districts like ourselves or in the area. And according to the radar data in November, the state is at 18.3%. So I feel a little bit better that we're a little more in line with the state. We've held steady in this district around 22%. So we're in total now district-wide at 21.6. But you can see that it varies at each school. Center's at 15.7, Pepin 21, Whitebrook 23.6, high school is 16, and then total 21.6. And when we fold in preschool, we're at about 23.1%. I don't know why Maple's higher than other schools, and I think that the middle school is maybe a little bit higher because middle school brings along lots of changes and trials and tribulations. So I think that may be part of it. We're constantly looking at why our numbers are so high. I could make a lot of guesses, but it's something that we continue to look at and try to address on a regular basis. So this is one of the slides that has a lot of information. So I just wanted to give you a brief description of preschool, which I think I have before, but right now we have 59 preschool students across 3 integrated preschool classrooms and 1 small preschool classroom that supports students with autism and other developmental disabilities. We have a full-time speech and language pathologist in our preschool. Each integrated preschool class has 2 paraeducators. Our RISE program, which is the program for students with autism and developmental disabilities, has 4 paraeducators. There's an occupational therapist that works in the whole district but supports Maple quite a bit. Maple has its own occupational therapy assistant. And other services that support our preschool are physical therapists, assistive technology, and augmentative and assistive communication specialists, teacher of the visually impaired, teacher of the deaf. So those are all services. A lot of these we contract out for. We conduct 3 screenings a year for students who are not already attending our preschool program. We just did one this past Friday. So those are, we mail a letter to everyone whose child is within a certain birth date range via the census, and we invite them to bring their child to be screened, either because they'd like to have a peer slot in our preschool program or because they have concerns about their child's development. So each of the preschool teachers conducts some screenings. Sometimes those lead to an evaluation to determine if they have a disability, or sometimes they will lead to the student becoming a peer in our preschool classroom. Let's see. So this is a breakdown of the special education staff across the district. Maple's very high for paraeducators because of the preschool. We have 7 in preschool. But I wanted to just break down the numbers of staff for you. Last Monday and Tuesday, Dr. LeClaire and myself and Jill Pasquini, Julian Levin, and Jody Alatalo, our literacy coordinator, we were lucky enough to spend 2 days at a MTSS conference, Mass Tiered System of Supports. The state is it's a couple years old initiative by the state, and they're really deploying a lot of resources to districts. And one of the breakout sessions I went to talked about like an ideal amount of staff per students in each of these areas. I haven't compared us to that yet, but so I just figured out the data, but I'll spend some time looking at how we compare with the national averages and what's a best practice. So we have 2 coordinators additionally that work directly under me. They manage the IEP process and lots of other things. Heather Cuthbert, it was Dan Stern, was our pre-K to 4th grade coordinator. He's become the interim assistant principal at Whitebrook. So Heather Cuthbertson, who has been a teacher at Center Elementary for a long time, has taken over as the pre-K to 4 coordinator through the rest of the year. And then Nancy Weld has been in the district for, I think this is her 5th year. She does 5 through 12. Their caseload numbers are very high. All of the special education directors communicate via email, and someone just said, how many cases do your coordinators or your ETLs, they're called in other districts, or ETFs, and it was around 100, between 80 and 100 for most other coordinators. So we're asking these folks to do a big job with a lot more students than other districts are asking their coordinators to do. But it's just the part of it. In the past, I was the elementary coordinator for about 10 years, and we used to have a pre-K and K coordinator, and then that got folded into my job responsibilities at some point. So, just part of where we're looking to deploy our resources to people who are actually in front of kids. So in this case, these folks, sometimes bear the brunt of that need. But they're great. They do really well at their work. They're busy people. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our paraeducators in the district, only special education paraeducators. There's a couple other groups that are kindergarten and library. So our paraeducators are supporting students in the general education setting around academic intervention and developing strategies for academic success. There's also a large number of paraeducators who work in general education, in the general education setting, to help our students with social, emotional, and behavioral challenges. We have programs at all levels, our student support programs that support students in the general education setting to manage and learn appropriate behavioral and social emotional skills so they can be successful there. It's a wildly successful program, and we are able to support many students who I think in other districts would be placed in substantially separate programs. We do a really nice job with this program. Then we have some other specialized programs which I'll talk about I think on the next slide, but there are paras in those programs who support kids outside of the general education setting. And then of course we have 11 actually paras, 7 in integrated preschool and then additional 4 in our RISE preschool program. Did I go? Oh, this one. So these are the list of programs. I think I've come before and talked with you about them. So I'm not going to read them all, but we have developed some of these programs over the past 5 years since I have been director. We've developed a couple programs for students with autism and developmental disabilities, students who maybe formerly would have gone out of district. We have a social emotional program that's in its 3rd year at Center Pepin, a small program that supports students with significant social emotional challenges, who I think prior to developing this program would have ended up in out of district placements. Our student support programs, which I talked about, are the inclusive programs that support students with social emotional challenges. At the middle school, we have a developmental learning center, which also supports students with autism and other developmental disabilities. That's a really successful program, and the teacher that runs that program, Catherine Gonsalves, is a phenomenal teacher. She does a really nice job. She takes her class to game day, the Special Olympics game day at various schools. She's always doing really amazing hands-on activities. It's a really stellar program. And then, of course, there's the academic intervention. So those are sort of the specialized intervention. Then we provide lots of academic supports, whether it be in a small group outside the classroom, a lot of co-teaching, and inclusive practices happen more at the middle school and high school. A lot of that is based on space. At the elementary levels, there are no, not space, but numbers. There are so at the elementary level, each of the schools, there's one academic special education teacher. And those, so for instance, at Maple School, Morgan Jones is the academic special education teacher, and she right now has 27 students on her caseload. So she is just pulling groups to provide the intervention. What we really want to move to is having her co-teach and go into classrooms with, and support students there, but it's just, there are a lot of barriers to that right now. One being her high caseload, and because she's the only person there working with students in grades K through 4, just doesn't work to get into classrooms. We're working on it and have high hopes for the new school that we'll be really able to change this model. And then at the high school, in addition to the academic support or co-teaching, there's some study and transition skills class, which help students develop skills necessary to be successful academically and also in life. The other things my office does, as I said, we oversee Section 504, And around homeless and foster care, which I think came last year and talked about. We have some obligations to support our homeless students and students in foster care to make sure that they can maintain some educational stability. So we do transportation, we make sure that they are getting free breakfast and lunch. I contact the parents periodically to make sure that they're in a safe situation. If they need any resources, I connect them with food pantries in their town that they may be residing in, or here in Easthampton if they're living here. So the district nursing is new this year for me. I oversee our new district nurse. And this is her first venture into school nursing, as it is mine. So we work together. We work together quite a bit to make sure we're doing things and implementing our policies and procedures properly. And then there's an LPN at each of the schools, which we oversee as well. Those LPNs that have been here for a while have really stepped up and have provided quite a bit of assistance to myself and to Brooke, the district nurse, and figuring out the ins and outs of school nursing. So I'm also the person who conducts any investigations if someone has made a complaint of discrimination based on sex. So those, I'm gonna say it, but I haven't done any this year. Just great news for our district. I also conduct any investigations around civil rights complaints. So if someone has a complaint that they've been discriminated against based on race, color, sex, gender identity, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, or disability. We don't have a ton of those either. But I can tell you that an investigation, I had to do one last year, and it took me, I bet it took me probably a week and a half, like a week and a half worth of hours to do it, because there's interviews and there's procedures and interviews and lots of things that have to happen. So it's, it's a big, when it comes up, it's a very big responsibility. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our priorities over the next 3 years. Obviously, as Dr. Leclerc said at the beginning, our first priority in our strategic plan is to meet the needs of all learners. So we're really looking at improving our inclusive practices and co-teaching, improving our instructional core. I talked a little bit about the Massachusetts tiered system of supports. Intervention and support for students with disabilities that impact social, emotional, and behavioral development, and streamlining related services to meet the needs of more students. We have a new occupational therapist this year who is fantastic, and she has really taken a look at how we're delivering occupational therapy services across the district, and her goal is to try to get into every classroom and be doing proactive work with teachers and students, which I think is really amazing. We're always looking at staffing and resource allocation. At the institute that we went to last week, we were provided with some amazing resources and guides on how to look at staffing and how to reallocate existing resources in the district. We use a lot of consultants in this district, less so in the past few years, because I would really like to build capacity within our district, but I really want to continue to look at that. I want to make sure all of our programs are aligned at all levels, and I'm always thinking about how we're deploying our paraeducators. And this next part, highly meeting the needs of students with highly specialized needs. Reading or dyslexia. So in 2018, the state passed a law around screening for dyslexia in kindergarten. And that's really become a hot topic in the past couple of years. We're waiting for the Department of Education to issue guidance on how we are supposed to do this screening. I think it's due out this spring. But districts in the area over the past couple of years have seen, I don't know if it's an actual increase in dyslexia or it's an increase of parental awareness of dyslexia and advocacy. So we've been doing some work in this area around making sure that the interventions that our special education teachers are providing will meet the needs of students with specific learning disabilities and dyslexia. We've also taken and continue to take pause in making sure that we're meeting the needs of our most vulnerable students, and those really are the students with social, emotional, and behavioral challenges. I started to make some notes as you were talking, Jonathan, and just, this is a little off topic, but the graduation rate for students with mental health challenges is 40% nationally. Nationally, the average for any student is 76%, still not fabulous, but for a student with mental health, it's 40%. We see it all the time, and we're seeing an increase in students whose mental health challenges are preventing them from getting to school, and from, even if they can get there, from accessing education. I had a conversation with Alexa Mignano, who's the supervisor for River Valley Counseling. So we have in our district therapists through River Valley Counseling who provide therapy to students through insurance, but they're embedded in our schools. So she called me this week and said that in the past month, in this area, in schools surrounding ours, there has been an increase in students reporting self-harm and suicidality, like a marked increase. And so it really motivated her to do something about it. So we are going to be partnering with River Valley Counseling Center, hopefully the first week of March, to provide a training for our school counselors and area school counselors and psychologists and maybe administration around supporting students who are experiencing this level of mental health challenge. So we're going to be hosting this event with River Valley Counseling Center for other school districts. So it is alarming and it's scary, and it's very challenging to figure out how to support students like this. Our job is to educate, but when students are coming to school, it's very difficult to educate them. They just can't. I find myself saying, okay, so this is the challenge they had at home, or the feelings that they're feeling, and now we want them to sit in a U.S. history class. It's really challenging. So we really want to be able to support our students, particularly this group of students. And then the other piece too that we're working on is particularly feels like it's getting to be coming faster than I imagined that it would come, is figuring out how we're going to deploy special education services at our new school. The nice thing is we'll all be in one place, so there's lots of people with lots of really great skills, but they've been isolated because they're all over the place. This way we get to bring all of these people together and bring our service delivery to a new level of excellence, I think. So I don't know if people are familiar with this. If you're in education, you probably know it. So I feel like my department, it's really been my life's work, but especially, here in Easthampton, we really strive to provide equitable opportunities for all students. So, on the left side is we have equality. We can give everybody a box and, give everybody the same thing and hope that they can just figure out how to see over the fence. But if we're really looking at equity, we're meeting each student at his or her point of need and figuring out a way to take down those barriers and providing them with the supports that they need. And Julianne Levin wanted me to say that there's a third slide.
Yes, there is.
But I couldn't find one with someone with a disability in it, so I didn't use it. It's called Liberation, and then that's where you just take the fence down.
Yes.
So I really like that, but it just sort of didn't fit with my scheme. So I really appreciate that. And I guess that's really what we're trying to do, is take that fence down for folks. But we have we've really worked hard to hire high quality staff. I'm really proud of the work that they do, and it's a busy job. But as I think I say every time, I'm really grateful to be working here and to, be able to continue this work. So, does anybody have any questions?
Sarah, it's commendable, all that you do. I find it alarming, sitting here on school committee, that you keep on taking on more responsibilities. I know that our budget is tight. When did you take on the Title IX compliance? Now you're overseeing district nursing, civil rights compliance. I've never seen a special education coordinator in charge of so many different things.
So those are always jobs that came with this department. I think other school districts call my office Office of Student Services or Office of Pupil Support Services or Pupil Services. So I think that this district has just kept the name Office of Special Education, but I think those, at least in the smaller districts, these are pretty traditional responsibilities for the special education office. So those were always there. The nursing is new this year.
Because we eliminated a central office, the
District
central
nurse.
district nurse last year. So we do have a district nurse, but she actually is a full-time nurse at the high school. So she has her nursing duties all day long.
Yeah.
I think you explained it well, because in other districts that I'm familiar with, there is student services, and it's not titled as special education, so.
Right, and like in Northampton, for instance, they're bigger, right? They're about double, I think about double this, yeah, I think they're about double the size, but the special education director there has 2 assistant directors, and then there are several more ETLs or coordinators deployed at each school. So different districts do it differently, you know.
It seems like that's an area for us to look at, especially as we consolidate into the new school, is the coordinating, you know, having that level of cases for each of those coordinators seems extremely high, like you said. I mean, basically double of what other districts are looking at, and trying to look at how that might be different.
And while it doesn't directly impact students, right, because they're working more with families, I think it does impact their ability to do a lot of the things that they're supposed to do with that job. Make sure everything's in on time. You know, collaborating. I did a lot of when I was in that role, did a lot of collaboration with teachers and principals, and I think that becomes a little bit more challenging when the caseloads grow. You know, and we're about to have our. I think I have a conference call with the state on March 2nd. I do, because we're about to have our tiered focus monitoring, which used to be called the audit or CPR. So they're coming in this year, and they're specifically looking at one of the areas, our compliance and timelines. And while very important to adhere to the laws and regulations, it's something that can be challenging when you're responsible for 12 or 15 IEP meetings in a week. And you're needing to meet again and again on students, where things are complicated. So yeah, it can be a challenge for sure.
Madam Chair? I have a couple of questions. One
Sure.
is somewhat, I'll start just with the first one. So on the turnaround in Center Pepin,
Yeah.
I'm just confused. Is that the turnaround focused on both schools together or just one? Because sometimes it's referred to Center/Pepin, but then like in the numbers for special ed,
Right.
they were separated Center/Pepin.
So maybe Dr. LeClaire can explain that a little bit better than I can.
We were found in turnaround in only one of the schools in Pepin,
Okay.
but
Center.
Center.
Okay.
But we did ask the state because our schools, we think of Center Pepin as one building.
Right.
We said we want to deploy our turnaround practices in both buildings because Pepin didn't have enough numbers initially in their 4th grade. They only had 1 4th grade, so they didn't meet even the threshold of being evaluated, really.
Okay.
So we were just going under the assumption that whatever support we give to one school, it really can be
Okay.
for both schools.
Super helpful. All right.
And because, for state reporting, it is reported, both schools are reported separately for and my
Yeah.
data. So that's why I did it that way,
Yeah.
why I broke it out.
But they have allowed us to do the turnaround plan for both schools.
Right.
And then on the same slide,
Yep.
the numbers.
Yeah.
So on the preschool number,
Yeah.
the total. So when preschool, does that preschool number include preschool kids who are just in our programs?
Yes.
Okay.
Only at Maple School. Only a public school preschool programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then is the state or is the district responsible for those children under 3 that make the requirements for early intervention?
No.
Uh-huh.
We those agencies will contact
Yeah.
us when the students are 2.5, and we
Okay.
start partnering with them at that point.
And then doing the vows.
Yeah, so
Yep.
Heather Cuthbert's in the elementary corridor makes her first home visit at 2.5 to the home. So we don't have any responsibility until the 3rd birthday. And then if they're found eligible, we meet before, and if they're found eligible, we take them into our preschool the day that they turn 3.
Okay, and then on the district number of 15, 16, are those students who attend our schools? Or does that include all of the students that could avail themselves of public and special education?
That's only current enrollment in the schools. Yep.
And
But it also includes the students, the 24 students that are not in district programs.
That was my next question.
Because those are our
Yeah.
students, but.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
they're
not
in-
homeschooled students or kids who choice out to another
Okay.
district.
And then that might be.
I thought you were going to point out that I made a math mistake.
No, well, I shouldn't say it. I might be the last one to catch that. So no worries. And then the River Valley, I mean, they've been in our schools for a while. And then
3 years.
So is that partnership increasing? What you mentioned, they were like to work a little more closely with the systems of support? Or is that just a realignment of the service or the contract that we have?
So they have increased the number of therapists that they've put into schools.
Yeah.
They would increase them more if we had more spaces.
Yeah, okay.
But I would say that like Alexa reaching out to me this week was new. We talk a couple of times a year
Yeah.
just to check in. But her call on Monday morning, first thing, she was alarmed. And she's working really fast to get this collaborative workshop together. So I would say it will increase because we're, they work with really vulnerable students who we see. So
Sure.
they come to meetings and they will work with us around supporting students.
And then the therapists who work in the school with children, is that billed to insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
Through River Valley Counseling, yes, that's billed through
Billed
insurance.
directly.
And they became so popular in Easthampton that they opened a clinic here.
Yeah.
And they actually now have a prescriber in that clinic 1 day a week, which is great
Yep.
because it's very hard to find a child psychiatrist who can prescribe. So they've really embedded themselves in our community. The kids can go there in the summer for therapy so they can continue.
And they provide family support or family therapy?
They,
Or-
so those in-home family supports,
Yeah.
they're just starting to, I think when I met with them this past summer, they were just starting to get a couple of teams together to do that. So in this area, the agencies that handle most of that are like CSO, which is out of Northampton,
Yep.
or BHN Springfield,
So, and when the students are and the stunning statistics that Jonathan shared and you've been talking about, so if there is a mental health event or crisis outside of school, do you get some notification of not, sharing the details, but say, hey, we want to work with you, or heads up, this happened over the weekend?
Absolutely.
Or is it separate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In my office, so if, there are a high number of students who need mental health hospitalization every year. In my office, I forgot I handle that too. So that's called Home Hospital Education Services. So any child.
And that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, that's a big one. Any child that's hospitalized,
Right.
regular education or special education, goes through my office.
Gotcha.
So I approve that service, which of course we approve, and then the billing comes through, and I follow through with the providers and make sure that. So then I sort of disseminate the information.
And do we contract for the services in the home hospitals?
Yes.
I mean, we don't have the staff to actually.
Most
Some
of
of
the
the
hospitals.
Most of the
or something.
hospitals have an agency in their hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say we don't have the staff.
We
to
don't
send
deploy.
to
No,
Yeah.
we just
Okay.
pay.
Yeah.
And it's not much. I mean, those kids aren't available for a lot of learning, so it
Right.
might be an hour a day.
And most districts do that. I was just
Yes.
wondering how it
Yeah.
worked here. Okay.
And if I could just add, just to piggyback on, I think, what the two of you were saying, having River Valley Counseling in the schools has been a game changer. It really is very essential. I think the challenge is that on the day-to-day mental health issues,
Right.
they're not present
Right.
day-to-day.
Right.
So if a student appears, comes to school and they're in crisis, something happened last night at home, then it's how are we going to deal with that today? And we do have a counselor at the high school, Jen Metzger, who is fabulous. She is our one mental health counselor at the high school. And the last I heard from the high school, her caseload is 74 students right now. And that's 74 students that she's regularly dealing with every day, not to mention a student that wasn't on anyone's radar that might show up. So
Right.
obviously that sounds, I'm thinking probably high to most of us, but that is, that's a challenge for us, because I think that for anyone that works in a school, we will agree with some of the assessment that Jonathan was putting forward to us around, kids with a lot of challenges and trying to do the very best that they can.
Yeah, and we most certainly want each student to succeed.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing, and this is, so I go to every November to a legal issues workshop with Ginny Tate. I'm sure if you're in the field, you are familiar. She's a well-known and well-respected attorney. And for the past 2 years, one of the focuses of the conference or the seminar was around students with very significant mental health challenges who are entering kindergarten and what that can look like. And we have students who, we have a lot of students who have come out of our preschool, and we do a lot of outreach to get to know students who have attended other preschools. But every year we have a handful of students who either haven't attended preschool or have recently moved to the city who have really significant challenges. And, I am amazed at the work that that the principals and the staff do to support these students. But the needs at that level, increase year to year, and that's a national trend as to what we hear from, our attorney and other special education directors. So, it's.
Dr. Leclerc, can I just ask about that 74, that caseload you gave with the counselor at the high school? Now, are those 74 students that sometimes meet in a group setting?
She does some group work, yes.
And also
She has
contracted
support
out
groups.
to...
No, those are the 74 that she has. The
Those are
River
not-
Valley
River
has...
Valley does
Those are
not
not
have-
River Valley.
wow.
No, River Valley is in there. River Valley is there.
Yes,
Right,
but those
yes.
74 on Jen Metzger's caseload.
Yes.
Because sometimes, like students that I work with, they see the adjustment counselor, they do group in the school, and they also have outside services. So I was wondering if those
Well, some of them might
students
have outside
Yes,
services too.
yeah.
with
Yeah.
River Valley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but Jen does a lot with mindfulness.
Yeah.
She's very, very supportive of the student body and the faculty.
Yeah, she does a lot of faculty too.
But she's not seeing 74 students individually.
Not individually.
No, there are some
She
groups. She
could-
does
I mean,
like a
that'd be
lunch
impossible.
group, or,
Yeah.
if students have a specific area,
Yep.
a social skill deficit that they're working on, she might see those students
Those
together.
are still huge numbers.
It's huge.
really are.
Yeah, people in this district work really, really hard. I've only I've worked at a few other places before I came here, so I don't have a ton to compare it to, but, when I talk to my colleagues, they're amazed at what we do with what we have, so.
Well, and that's why River Valley Counseling has just
amazing.
been a
Oh.
godsend.
It,
Because, for the kids who can't get to counseling outside of the school day, to have counseling come into the school, but also to see all of those students who, there's such a high need, and there's just an impossible number for someone
and
to
schools
see.
aren't equipped to deal with the level of clinical care that
Yeah.
these students need.
Yep.
They really need and these folks from River Valley are highly trained.
They are.
In really several techniques on working with different levels of mental health.
We have River Valley
Oh,
at
you
our
do?
school, and it's just been incredible, and all the slots fill up immediately. And, you could just keep asking for more, because,
I think in the summer, when I met with Alexa and her supervisor, I think they were at maybe 150. We're seeing 150, which is 10% of our population, and lots of more referrals, that they just can't see.
It's
amazing.
such a smart partnership. Families spend so much on health insurance, and often we don't actually get to use the services that we're entitled to
Right.
from the
Right.
through those insurances. And so to instead of bearing that financial burden
Right.
as a district,
Right.
make those insurance
Right.
companies pay for those services.
Yeah, and we had tried to partner with a couple of agencies prior, and it just, for whatever, for several different reasons, it didn't work out. And this has just been, they're excellent. They're really fantastic.
I agree.
I think I talked longer than I intended.
It's good.
It's
That's very
exciting.
good.
It's exciting for me. Yeah.
It's important stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Can I just also go up to the podium? I wanted to just talk for a few minutes before we leave my section about the traffic plan for Whitebrook Middle School, our favorite topic, right, Mayor? We are in the process of shifting the traffic plan at Whitebrook to accommodate the construction. And so I wanted to just take a few minutes, well, let me get that out of the way, to show you the latest kind of model that we have. So here's where we're at. I sent out a message to all families this week. This goes along with our district improvement plan, strategic focus area number 4, which is engagement and communication. So I did communicate with all families in the district this week just to let them know that this was coming and we've been working on it. There are a lot of layers of approvals that you need, a lot of people that you need to talk with, and a lot of kinks to work out in this system. So we have honestly been focused on this, I think, for the past month and a half, looking at our traffic pattern. So we are getting ready to make the transition. It will take effect the Monday after February vacation. And what will happen is that the yellow area on top, and I think you have the paper in front of you, the yellow area.
Dr. LeClaire, should we turn off the light so that it will show?
Yeah, will you turn off? Thank you. Yeah, I think all of you have that in front of you.
See.
And I think that Stan has
one on
a
the
copy
left.
in the back.
Toward the left.
Yeah, even that one would help.
We put stickers on this.
There you go.
There you go.
Those
That
two.
looks
That's good.
better.
So the yellow area on the top really is where the football field was, and that's the construction zone. And so as of February vacation, the north parking lot, which is the parking lot closest to the football field for a reference point, it will be totally taken over by the construction company. It is kind of half and half right now, but it will be no longer able to be used by any staff members or parents after February vacation. That will become part of the construction zone where they park their cars, and there'll be a construction gate and a fence all around that area. So the construction company will take over the north lane of the Whitebrook Middle School, which is the orange lane, or the lane that's on the kind of the top, if you will, the top of the drive. That will become for construction traffic only, and that's how they'll get all of their steel in and everything. Now, if you've been to Whitebrook at all recently, you know that's the side that the sidewalk's on, so that presented another challenge because I don't want kids walking and biking where construction vehicles are. So we will have the south lane for two-way traffic. So that lane is being expanded. They're working on it now. I was out there this morning, but it will be done after vacation. It won't be paved. It will just have like a soft gravel on it. And there will be a sidewalk that will be paved, that is part of the paved road currently. And there will be a fence that separates the sidewalk area from the two-way traffic for cars and buses, so that kids on bikes, kids walking, people walking dogs can still be safe. We'll still have the bus loop where the bus loop always is. That is also being saved for emergency personnel. That's a place where fire and police vehicles would go if they needed to in an emergency, so that loop will still be in existence. What will shift over February break is the south parking lot will be expanded. They're going to add several spaces to make up for what we lose in the north parking lot, and also to expand the footprint so that we can have a loop for cars for the pickup and drop off there. And so there will be a lot of signage added to direct people to kind of get where they need to go and to help them understand what they're doing. But one of the biggest changes will be when you drop your child off in the morning and come back up the South Lane to leave, you will only be able to take a right turn out of Whitebrook. So this will be a shift in the way that we're doing business. It will be something that we were eventually going to do anyhow, because the Rotary, which is in the area marked number 7, and if you've driven by Whitebrook, you can see where number 7 is. That's going to be the Rotary, and it should be ready next fall. They're telling us for the start of school next year. And so everyone will be pushed to take a right out of school and go around the Rotary to address traffic congestion. So we're forcing the right turn now because it's not very wide, even though they're widening that bottom lane for two-way traffic. I just think traffic will get so backed up in our school if we're trying to take left turns out of there, you know, in the morning or in the afternoon. So right turn, and then people can just take whatever side street they want to loop back around. There are a few different options. Yeah, I mean there are several different options. I don't want to dictate one because I think that people will figure out what's easier for them. And if everyone goes down one side street, it'll clog that up. So I think if we kind of spread it out for people, it will be easier for them. So I wanted to share that with you. The information's going out to families tomorrow. This map will be enclosed with the letter that families get. The map will also go on our district website for people. And we're going to have extra staff available for the first week or two, just to make sure things are kind of moving the way they need to be moving. I've also spoken with the police department. They're going to try to give us some additional support those first several days, if you will, so that we can try and keep the flow going while we work on this transition. For many Whitebrook families, they've already been challenged by some of the construction that's been going on. You know, we've closed lanes, we've opened lanes, we've shifted where people can go just because of some of the heavy equipment that's been, being moved in. So people have already been a little inconvenienced, but I think that this will be a change, and it may cause some delays. People may need to plan accordingly. I mean, if people can carpool, that would be fabulous. So we encourage that. But the end result is that we're going to have an amazing new school. So that's why I hope everyone can keep that focus in mind as we go through this process. And I think it will be okay. I think the remainder of this school year will probably be the most challenging part. Once the Rotary is up and running, I think things will get better in the fall. Maren?
So just question for you,
Yes.
as you're talking about grading roads and spaces, is there going to be any regrading of the parking lot, of the south parking lot? Because
Yes.
that has been recently become extremely huge potholes, and
Yes.
that's...
They're regrading it,
regrading the
they're
whole parking
lining
lot.
it, because we're adding, the lines are preventing, the lack of lines currently is preventing us from parking in an organized manner and getting the most that we can. So they will be relining it. Those are things that will happen over the vacation.
Okay.
Yep.
And then in terms of the road itself, you're saying the south road that will become two-way traffic, it's not going to be entirely paved? It'll be just gravel, or?
The part that is being scraped right now is the kind of the lane, the grass median in the middle.
Yep.
That's being scraped down, and then it will have a gravel on top of it. So it will not be, we have decided not to pave it because it will not be the permanent entrance to the new school. And I think the cost of paving an area that long is prohibitive to the project, and it just really, they said that they would put the gravel down now and then they'll reassess it in the spring after kind of the rainy
Right.
season, if you will, and assess whether they need to put down some different materials. But for right now, to keep the costs down, we're just going to be doing the gravel.
Okay. Yeah, as long as it's paid attention to and
Yeah.
tracked, I mean, because that's, for a gravel road, for everyone to be using that on a daily basis is going to have a lot of ruts, a lot of problems, and it's going to slow down traffic even more on that road,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I
Lauren?
can understand you wanting to get people used to taking that right, but I live up there, so I just can see the concerns of people who are coming from like where the planes are and having to find a side street because it's really not easy. So you're gonna get a lot of complaints, and I was just wondering, is it absolutely necessary to get them used to going to the right now? Is there any way that they could take the left until that rotary's in?
I think the challenge, Laurie, is that don't forget that not only is it the cars and the buses that will be exiting that blue lane onto Park Street, but you also have construction equipment as well. And I don't really want them, I think it'll just be too much if people are taking chances going left, and I think that it's an accident waiting to happen. And I think it's just safer to do the right turn only for the buses, for the construction vehicles, for everyone.
Get ready.
I know.
And not only that, but it's only one lane coming out versus two.
Yeah,
It
it's
used to
not
be
split at
a
the
right and a
top.
left. Now it's just one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if somebody, and you're not going to be able to take a left turn out of there. There's no way.
Yeah,
It's hard to do now. Never mind.
it is.
And there's ways, I mean, you get onto South Street and then hook back around. So, I mean, it's, you can do it immediately within that neighborhood. It's obviously not ideal. None of this is ideal in terms of traffic, but it's also necessary, so.
But even going over to South Street, that's gonna cause a problem, because it's right there.
Yeah.
You're going to turn
Oh,
it
yeah.
out,
Yeah.
There will
stop
be,
to wait.
I see that being more of a problem than just taking the left. Just because I go that way all the time, I just see this as,
I'm there on
Yeah.
a daily basis with you. I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
maybe
we looked at a
something we
lot
need to
of
redo.
different options. And I actually conferred with the police on this, and they
Right.
recommended that it was their preference that we do the right turn, you know, and shift that practice now.
And the Button Road agreement wasn't able to go through.
The Button Road presented a lot of challenges, and one of the biggest challenges for me was that once cars, buses, pedestrians, anyone went onto Button Road, they're out of the school's control. You know, I can't deploy staff to tell people to behave over there, and then it becomes a police issue. And so there were a lot of challenges, and we really went back to the builders and said, if we can control our construction area and our lanes, we can have our people there, our administrators there to monitor, to keep people moving, to have people slow down if they're going too fast, kids that are doing something that's in a, you know, if they're going out into the road area, we can catch them and redirect them and re-educate them. So we just felt that we had a lot more control if we kept everything on our site.
I can see that.
And it doesn't minimize the inconvenience to the residents, but every single time you put a roundabout in, there's a period where, until it's finished, everybody's inconvenienced, and there's not much you can do about it, and safety has to be the highest, priority, Those are tough decisions.
Yep. Anyone have any other
I have a question
thoughts?
not directly
Yes.
about traffic, but
Yes.
are the middle school kids able to get outside anywhere during the day?
That's a good question. So currently, they are not going outside, and one of the primary reasons for that is the fence is not completed around the construction zone because it's open right where the north lot is, because we're still using the north lot. They do have Jersey barriers up, but we don't want kids going into a construction area, even if a ball rolls over that way or something. So they're not currently going out, and the natives are getting restless. They are going into the gym during like some, to have some recess kind of playtime. But what will happen is the section that is labeled 8, which is the bus loop, they've scraped down that circle area, and they will be putting just, it's just clay right now, but they're going to put down some gravel, and they're going to allow students to go out there during the day. So that will be one area. And then they will also, once the fence is completed, they will also be able to cross over to the football practice area, which is up and back a little bit. Well, it's up off to the top, like more around noontime or so, where the goal posts from the football field have been moved there, and that will be an area that can be used for gym and recess. The area is flattened, it's ready for the students, there's a path that leads to it, but we haven't, because that fence is not finished and the construction gate's not done, I don't want kids crossing in front of that area, so we're hoping that all that will be done, and then they can start accessing outside after February vacation.
Isn't that what this area is calling number 9, temporary work area?
Where's number 9?
To the left of
Yes.
the lights? So that's,
Yes.
but it's called here a temporary
Yeah.
work area.
But they have it ready for us to use, because it was always going to be an area for youth football practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's that upper field?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
it's
part
the upper
of the upper
field.
field.
Yeah, part of the
field's
upper
already
field.
been
Yeah.
dug away.
Yep.
It's already changing a lot.
And just mark your calendars, because the groundbreaking date that we're working on is May 4th, which is a Monday. We're waiting for nicer weather. We're waiting for, we're hoping that steel may start to be erected that week, so I think it would be, right now it's a pretty big mud bath, so we're waiting. We're waiting to get some, a little bit more visual, and then we're going to do the groundbreaking. So more information to follow, but that's a save the date kind of notice. That's all I have.
And it's May the 4th be with you day.
I already heard that.
Yeah, very excited.
Julianne is dressing up. She wants us all to bring lightsabers. Yeah.
I have a couple in my office.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Matters for action,
All
some
right.
payrolls.
I move to approve the school payroll dated 2/13/2020 in the amount of $518,433. Oh, sorry, there's something missing again. $518,433.54.
Second.
All those in favor?
I move to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated 2/13/2020 in the amount of $190,302.04.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right, I think that's all our payroll. I'll pass these here for signatures. And then I move to approve our executive session meeting minutes from January 28th, 2020.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
And I move to approve the minutes from our regular session meeting also on January 28th, 2020.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's it, right?
That is all I have.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
All right, all those in favor? Have a great night. This meeting is adjourned.
What time the math? Does it go in the morning and goes to the bottom?
Like from the post office?
Wow, that's good.
Never go to the post office.
Where is it? Is it closer? Teltool in Westfield.
Pending,
Teltool in Westfield. Yep, yep.